Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into the lantern-lit world of medieval Japan. Picture samurai sharpening blades under cherry blossoms, geisha gliding through Kyoto's misty streets, their kimonos whispering elegance. Temples glow, sake flows, and poetry fills the air. Sounds dreamy, right? Now imagine needing to use the toilet. No porcelain throne, no fluffy TP, just a rickety plank over a pit that smells like regret. One wrong step, and you're the talk of the village, or worse, stuck in the muck. Welcome to history's embarrassing underbelly, where even samurai prayed not to fall in. From Japan's privy perils to courtesans hiding secrets behind silk, we'll uncover daily disasters that make your bad day look like a spa retreat. Ever wonder how you'd survive without a bidet or a shower? Spoiler, you'd probably beg for a time machine. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with where you're tuning in from and what time it is. Love seeing who's joining us in the dark. Dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're trudging through Kamakura, Japan, circa 1350, the air thick with cherry blossom petals and the faint hum of Buddhist chants. It's the Kamakura period, a time when samurai rule with iron fists and poets scribble odes to fleeting beauty. The city's wooden gates creak under the weight of history, and you're just trying to get through the day. But nature calls, and in this world, that's not a gentle nudge, it's a full-blown crisis. You're headed to the privy, and trust me, it's not the spa-like retreat you're used to. No porcelain throne, no lavender-scented wipes. Just a wobbly plank over a pit that smells like a demon's armpit. Welcome to medieval Japan, where going to the bathroom could be your most embarrassing moment, or your last. Let's set the scene. Kamakura's streets are a maze of dirt paths, lined with thatched roof houses and the occasional sake stall. You're weaving through merchants hawking rice and fishermen gutting their catch, the stench of fish mingling with something far worse. You spot the privy, a flimsy wooden shack tacked onto the edge of a courtyard. It's communal, because privacy is a luxury nobody's invented yet. You push open the door, and there's no curtain, no stall, just a line of planks over a yawning pit. Your neighbors are already squatting, chatting about the weather like it's a tea house. You freeze. This is your stage, and the audience is way too close. Your modern brain screams for a lock, a fan, a spritz of Febreze. Sorry, friend, you're stuck with vibes and prayers. The setup is simple but deadly. The privy is a hole dug into the earth, maybe 6 feet deep, with wooden boards laid across it. You balance on one, gripping the walls to avoid a plunge. It's like a medieval trust fall, except the only thing catching you is a pile of nightmares. Falling in isn't just humiliating, it's a health hazard. The pit's a stew of waste, buzzing with flies and brewing diseases like dysentery. Historians note that in 1350, Kamakura's population swelled as samurai clans centralized power, but sanitation didn't keep up. Cesspits overflowed, leaking into wells and turning drinking water into a game of bacterial roulette. You're not just risking your pride, you're gambling with your life. You manage to squat without disaster, but now comes the real challenge. Wiping. Toilet paper. Not for another few centuries. Instead, you're handed a chisuji, a flat wooden stick about the size of a ruler. It's reusable, which is the polite way of saying nobody cleans it properly. You scrape carefully, wincing at the thought of splinters. If you're in a rural village, it's even worse. Just a handful of leaves or, in a pinch, your own fingers. You're dreaming of Charmin, but all you've got is a stick and a lifetime of regret. Joke's on you. Some folks believed the pit's stench warded off evil spirits, so they built privies right next to their homes. Your bathroom's a spiritual shield, but it smells like defeat. Let's talk class, because even the mighty samurai weren't above this mess. You'd think a warrior with a katana gets a gold-plated outhouse, but no. Samurai, merchants, peasants, they all shared the same rickety planks. In Kamakura's elite compounds, You might find a slightly cleaner setup, maybe a servant to fan away flies, but the pit's still the great equalizer. One misstep, and even a warlord's dignity is dunked in the muck. Imagine the gossip. Did you hear Lord Tanaka fell into the privy last night? Sake's a cruel mistress. That's your first chuckle, because in a world without TikTok, a toilet tumble was prime entertainment. But it's not just the physical perils. The social stakes are brutal. You're squatting in full view of strangers, and there's no hiding your business. A loud gurgle, a slip of the plank, and you're the punchline at the next rice harvest. Women had it worse. Kimonos were a tangle of layers, and hiking them up without flashing the crowd took ninja-level skill. You're praying for balance, modesty, and a quick exit, but the universe laughs. In rural villages, it's even more exposed. You're crouching over a hole in a field, hoping no one's herding cows nearby. Your modern soul craves a stall door. Instead, you get a cow's curious stare. Nighttime's the real horror show. You're stumbling through Kamakura's unlit streets, a flickering lantern your only guide. The privy's a black void, and you're half drunk on sake from the local inn. One wrong step, and you're not just embarrassed, you're stuck, yelling for help while neighbors snicker. Historical records from the period mention privy rescues, where unlucky souls were hauled out by ropes. You're not laughing now, but here's your second joke. The rope's probably dirtier than the pit. You're trading one mess for another, and the only thing clean is the moon overhead. Disease is the silent killer. Kamakura's privies were breeding grounds for bacteria, and nobody knew about germs. You're wiping with a stick, drinking from a well 50 feet from the pit, and wondering why your stomach's staging a revolt. Dysentery was so common it was practically a personality trait. Historians debate whether communal privies fostered social bonding or just spread plague faster. Some argue the shared squat built trust, like a medieval team-building exercise. Others say it was a public health disaster, with overflowing pits poisoning entire neighborhoods. You're not here to debate, you're just trying to survive without a dip in the sludge. Let's zoom out. The Kamakura period, defined by the rise of the shogunate in 1185, was a time of military might and cultural bloom. Samurai codified Bushido, and temples dotted the landscape. But beneath the glory, daily life was a grind. Toilets weren't just a chore, they were a microcosm of resilience. You faced the pit, the stench, the stairs, and you kept going. It's not heroic like slicing through enemy lines, but it's real. You're not forging swords or writing haikus, you're balancing on a plank, hoping for the best. And here's your third joke, if you make it out unscathed, you're basically a samurai of sanitation. You're back on Kamakura's streets now, the privy behind you, but the memory lingers like a bad smell. Your kimono's intact, your dignity's bruised, but you're alive. You glance at the sake stall, tempted to drown the trauma, but you know another cup means another trip to the pit. You sigh, shuffle toward home, and dream of a world with flush valves and eucalyptus candles. For now, you've conquered the privy, but tomorrow's another day, and the plank's still waiting. You're no longer balancing on Kamakura's rickety privy planks. Now, you're in Yoshiwara, Tokyo's pleasure district, circa 1650, where the air hums with shamisen strings and the clink of sake cups. Lanterns cast a warm glow over silk-clad courtesans gliding through the streets, their smiles as practiced as their poetry. You're one of them, draped in a kimono so heavy it feels like a cage, your hair pinned with enough ornaments to rival a chandelier. To the outside world, you're a living artwork, enchanting samurai and merchants with a flutter of your fan. But beneath the rouge and charm, you're carrying a secret that could unravel everything, a pregnancy. In this glittering prison, that's not a miracle. It's a career-ending disaster, and you're about to learn just how far you'll go to keep it hidden. Yoshiwara isn't just a neighborhood, it's a fantasy built on incense and denial. You were sold here as a girl, maybe 7, by a family desperate for rice or just one less mouth to feed. The Edo period's booming urban culture, with Tokyo, then Edo, as the shogun's seat, made Yoshiwara a magnet for men seeking escape. You were trained to be their dream, singing, dancing, reciting poetry, and pretending their rice tax rants are riveting. But every step, every smile, belongs to the brothel. Your kimono? Debt. Your hair oil? Debt. Your life. A contract you didn't sign. Pregnancy is the ultimate betrayal, like your body decided to quit without notice. The brothel sees you as a product, and a baby is a defect that shuts down the assembly line for 9 months. You're not naive. You know how this happened. Your clients, drunk samurai, lonely merchants, poets who think haikus are foreplay, aren't here for commitment. They vanish faster than your paycheck after a sale at the sake stall. You hint at consequences, and they're suddenly moving to Osaka forever. No paternity tests in 1650, just a shrug and a ghosting that'd make a modern dating app blush. The brothel doesn't care who's to blame. You're the one who failed, as if you tripped into a 3rd trimester on purpose. Punishment looms, demotion to the rougher clients, confinement, or exile to a life where even tea houses won't touch you. You're walking a tightrope, and the safety net is made of lies. So, you turn to secrets whispered behind paper screens. Morning sickness hits, but you blame bad fish. You're exhausted, but you claim it's from dancing all night. You're a master of deception, because in Yoshiwara, truth is a luxury you can't afford. Other courtesans, your only allies, pass down remedies like coded scrolls. Try the tea with 3 leaves, not 5, one whispers. You nod, knowing 3 means mugwort, a bitter herb that promises to fix your problem. You brew it strong, gulping it down while praying it doesn't kill you first. Mugwort, safflower, licorice root, these aren't chamomile blends. They're potions from a grim fairy tale, causing cramps, fevers, maybe hallucinations. You're smiling at a client, pouring sake, while your insides twist like a bad Yelp review. Joke 1, at least the tea's free, unlike your freedom. If tea fails, you try the boiling bath method. You soak in water so hot it feels like a dragon's breath, hoping your body rejects the pregnancy. You're told to stay until you're dizzy, because fainting means it's working. You're risking burns, shock, even death, but it's discreet. No tools, no witnesses, just you and a tub of regret. You're sweating through your kimono, biting your lip to stay quiet, because a scream could bring the brothel's spies. You dream of a warm shower with eucalyptus body wash, but all you've got is scalding water and a prayer. Some girls add mugwort to the bath, doubling down on desperation. You're not sure if it's science or superstition, but you're too scared to care. Then there's tight binding, or harobi. You wrap your abdomen with cloth strips, turning your waist into a silk-wrapped sushi roll. It's not about comfort, it's about hiding the bump. You cinch tighter, risking fainting, because a visible pregnancy is social suicide. You're standing straighter than a temple pillar, not for elegance but to keep the pressure on. Slouching means discovery, and discovery means doom. You're dancing, pouring tea, charming clients, all while your organs protest like an overbooked Airbnb. Joke 2, you're not just hiding a baby, you're hiding a whole season of bad decisions. You sleep with the binding on, hoping the fetus rethinks its lease, but biology doesn't negotiate. The riskiest option is the midwife, a shadow in Yoshiwara's alleys. These women, often former courtesans, work in secret, no sign, no schedule. You slip out at midnight, a folded note in your sleeve, and knock on a door that smells of herbs and fear. The tools are crude, knives, rags, boiling water. No anesthesia, just your teeth gritted against the pain. You pay with a hairpin or a silk sash, because coins are too traceable. Infections, hemorrhaging, infertility, the risks are endless, but so is the alternative. You're back at the brothel by dawn, smiling like nothing happened, while your body screams. Some girls don't return, their absence blamed on a fever. You're not sure if they're lucky or cursed. Here's the quirky fact. Some courtesans swore by sake-soaked rice balls, believing the fermented mix could dissolve a pregnancy. You're chugging vinegar-laced rice, chanting a prayer like, "Return to the river, little one," and trying not to gag. It's less medicine, more tragic placebo, but you cling to it like a lifeline. You're eating despair with a side of nausea, and it's as effective as wishing on a star. Historians debate whether these remedies were medical desperation or spiritual coping mechanisms. Some say they were folklore, passed down by women with no other power. Others argue they were calculated risks, blending herb knowledge with hope. You're not a scholar, you're just trying to survive another night. The Edo period's pleasure districts, codified by the shogunate in 1617, were a world of velvet and iron. Yoshiwara was a government-regulated fantasy, but for you, it's a gilded cage. You're an artist, a survivor, a liar, all wrapped in silk. You hide your pain behind a fan, your fear behind a smile. You're not just fighting biology, you're fighting a system that owns your body and punishes your heart. Joke 3, your Tinder profile would read, "Skilled at poetry, tea, and existential dread." You're back in the brothel, serving a client who smells like fish and entitlement, and you wonder if the tea will work tomorrow. For now, you dance, because in Yoshiwara, the show never stops. You're still in Yoshiwara, Tokyo, 1650, where the air is heavy with jasmine perfume and the weight of secrets. The pleasure district's lanterns sway, casting flickers on paper screens, while clients laugh over sake and shamisen notes drift like ghosts. You're a courtesan, your kimono a cascade of silk, your smile a mask honed by years of practice. You've tried everything, mugwort tea, scalding baths, rice balls laced with desperation, but your pregnancy didn't vanish. Now, the moment you've dreaded is here. Your body's betraying you, and you're about to give birth in a world that demands you pretend it never happened. In Yoshiwara, motherhood isn't a blessing, it's a crime, and you're planning a heist to keep it hidden. The brothel is a labyrinth of tatami mats and whispered deals, but it's also a prison. You're owned, your every move watched by the madam's sharp eyes. Pregnancy was a scandal you dodged as long as you could, binding your waist until your ribs ached, smiling through nausea like it was just a bad night of sake. But you're past hiding now. The Edo period, with its rigid shogunate laws, thrives on order, and Yoshiwara's rules are ironclad. No babies, no disruptions, no excuses. If the brothel finds out, you're done, demoted, confined, or cast out to beg on Edo's muddy streets. You're not just fighting pain, you're fighting for survival, and the clock's ticking louder than a temple bell. You've planned this for weeks, because spontaneity is for people with options. You've bribed a servant with a hairpin, her silence worth more than gold. She's your only ally, a girl who knows the cost of being caught. You've chosen the bathhouse, a damp corner behind a screen, because it's the one place clients avoid at dawn. The air smells of mildew and rice bran, and the wooden floor is slick with spilled water. You've stuffed a cloth in your mouth, because a scream could end you. You're squatting, kimono hiked to your thighs, gripping a beam like it's your last friend. Your modern brain begs for a hospital, an epidural, a nurse with kind eyes. Instead, you've got a rag and a prayer, and the pain's rewriting your definition of hell. The birth is a blur of sweat and silence. You're biting the cloth so hard your jaw aches, muffling gasps that want to rip free. The servant whispers, "Push but quiet," her hands steady despite her trembling voice. You're tearing through layers of fear, fear of discovery, fear of death, fear of what comes next. There's no midwife, no herbs, no time. Infections are a roll of the dice. You've seen girls bleed out in alleys, their names erased by sunrise. You're pushing through waves of agony, each one a reminder that your body's no longer yours. Joke 1, you're delivering a baby, but the real labor is keeping your life intact. The baby comes, a tiny, slippery thing, wrapped in a scrap of silk you tore from your under kimono. It's a girl, her cry so soft it's barely a breath. You want to hold her, to memorize her face, but you can't. Every second risks exposure. The servant cuts the cord with a knife she stole from the kitchen, her hands shaking as she wraps the baby tighter. You're dizzy, your legs trembling, but you force yourself to stand. The bathhouse feels like a tomb, the air thick with your own fear. You're dreaming of a crib, a lullaby, a world where you're just a mother. Instead, you're a fugitive, and your daughter's a secret you can't keep. You've got hours, maybe less, before the brothel wakes. You clean yourself with cold water, wincing as it stings. The servant mops the floor, erasing evidence like a crime scene. You're back in your room by first light, kimono smoothed, rouge reapplied, as if you didn't just rewrite your soul. You're serving tea to a client by noon, laughing at his terrible poetry, while your body screams for rest. The pain's a dull roar, but you bury it behind a smile. Joke 2. Your Oscar-worthy performance deserves a red carpet, but all you get is a hangover and a heart you can't mend. Here's the quirky fact. Some births happened under cherry trees, a grim twist of poetry. You've heard whispers of girls sneaking to the district's edges, where blossoms fell like tears. They'd kneel in the dirt, praying the petals hid their cries. It's beautiful and brutal, like Yoshiwara itself, a place where beauty masks despair. You didn't have trees, you had a bathhouse and a blood-stained rag. But you understand the need for something soft, something sacred, in a moment that feels like a curse. The Edo period's pleasure districts were a shogunate creation, formalized in 1617 to contain vice and profit. Yoshiwara was a walled city of desire, but for you, it's a stage where every line's a lie. Historians debate whether these secret births were pure survival or quiet rebellion. Some say you're a victim, your choices stolen by debt and power. Others argue every muffled cry was defiance, a refusal to let the brothel own your humanity. You're not here for theories. You're just trying to breathe through the pain, to serve another client, to forget the weight of a baby you'll never hold. You're back in the rhythm of Yoshiwara, pouring sake, strumming a shamisen, dodging the madam's gaze. The servant avoids your eyes, her silence a fragile bond. You wonder where your daughter is, if she's still breathing, if she'll ever know your name. You push the thought down, because in this world, love is a luxury you can't afford. Joke 3. Your heart's a storage closet, locked tight, but it's leaking memories you can't scrub clean. You smile at a client, your fan fluttering like a butterfly, and you pray the night ends before you break. You're still in Yoshiwara, Tokyo, 1650, where the pleasure district's glow hides 1,000 shadows. The air carries the scent of sake and sandalwood, and the clatter of geta sandals echoes on wooden bridges. You're a courtesan, your kimono a carefully tied lie, your face powdered to mask the exhaustion of a secret birth. You've just endured the unthinkable, giving birth in a bathhouse, muffling your screams, and handing your daughter to a servant before dawn. Now, you're facing the hardest step, letting her go. In Yoshiwara, babies aren't keepsakes, they're evidence, and you're about to leave yours at a shrine, hoping for a miracle you can't afford to believe in. This isn't a choice. It's a wound you'll carry forever. The brothel's walls feel tighter tonight, every creak a reminder of the madam's spies. You're slipping out, a silk scarf over your hair, your heart pounding louder than the shamisen in the tea house. Your daughter's bundled in your arms, wrapped in a scrap of kimono you tore from your own hem. She's so small, her breath a faint warmth against your chest. You want to memorize her, to whisper her a name, but names are dangerous. They make things real. The Edo period's pleasure districts, sanctioned by the shogunate in 1617, thrive on illusion, and your reality is a threat to the fantasy. If you're caught, it's exile or worse. You're not a mother tonight, you're a ghost, moving through Yoshiwara's alleys toward a shrine. The Koya shrine is just beyond the district's gates, a cluster of stone Jizo statues draped in red bibs. These water children shrines are for the lost, miscarried, aborted, or abandoned. You've heard of abused shrines in rural villages, where the poor leave infants to fate, but here in Edo, it's Jizo who listens. The statues are weathered, their faces serene, surrounded by offerings, tiny sandals, pinwheels, a cracked rice bowl. You're not alone in this ritual. Other women have knelt here, their footsteps erased by dawn. You're walking a path worn by grief, and the weight of it makes your knees buckle. Your modern soul craves a social worker, a crib, a chance. Instead, you've got a statue and a prayer. You move at dawn, when the district's drunks are asleep and the guards are lazy. The servant from the bathhouse is with you, her silence a heavy gift. You've bribed her with another hairpin, your last one, its lacquer chipped from years of use. The shrine's hidden by willows, their branches swaying like mourners. You kneel, the ground cold through your kimono, and place your daughter on the stone steps. You tuck a charm into her swaddle, a scrap of cloth with a stitched lotus, a plea for mercy. You're whispering, "Find a home, little one," but the words choke you. You want to scream, to run back with her, but the brothel's chains are tighter than any rope. Joke 1, you're leaving your heart on these steps, and the receipt's a lifetime of nightmares. You don't look back. Looking back is how you break. You walk away, the servant's hand on your arm, her grip the only thing keeping you upright. The shrine fades into the mist, and you're back in Yoshiwara before the first clients stir. You're powdering your face, tying your obi, smiling at a merchant who smells like fish and ambition. Your body's a map of pain, sore from birth, raw from loss, but you bury it deep. You're a performer, and the stage doesn't care about your tears. You're dreaming of a world with adoption agencies, daycare, a chance to be more than a silhouette. Instead, you've got a fan and a lie, and the show must go on. What happens to your daughter? You'll never know. Some babies are found by monks, raised in temples with shaved heads and rice gruel. Others are taken by strangers, kind farmers, desperate widows, or worse. Many don't survive, their tiny bodies claimed by cold or hunger. You've heard the rumors, shrines haunted by mothers' cries, not infants, as if grief is louder than life. You push the thought away, because thinking is a trap. You focus on the next client, the next song, the next breath. Joke 2, your to-do list is simple. Charm, dance, don't collapse into a puddle of regret. You're surviving, but it feels like drowning. Here's the quirky fact. Some mothers left charms made of kimono scraps, a final stitch of love. Yours was a lotus, embroidered in a stolen moment, its threads frayed like your hope. It's not much, but it's yours, a whisper of you in a world that erases you. Historians debate whether abandonment was pragmatic survival or an act of love. Some say you're cutting ties to save yourself, a cold calculus in a brutal system. Others argue it's love in its rawest form. Giving your child a chance, even if it's a sliver, because you have nothing else to give. You're not debating. You're just trying to walk without shattering. The Edo period shrines were spiritual lifelines, especially for women like you. Jizo, the guardian of travelers and children, was a flicker of mercy in a world of rules. You've seen the bibs, the toys, the prayers piling up like debts. You wonder if Jizo hears you, if he'll carry your daughter somewhere safe. You're back in the brothel, pouring sake, laughing at a samurai's terrible joke, but your mind's at the shrine. You're not sure if you're haunted or just human. Joke 3, your heart's a guest book at that shrine, signed with a name you'll never speak. You flutter your fan, and the night swallows you whole. You're still in Yoshiwara, Tokyo, 1650, where the pleasure district pulses with laughter and lies. Lanterns sway above wooden bridges, casting shadows that hide your footsteps. You're a courtesan, your kimono heavy with silk and secrets, your face a mask of rouge and resilience. You've survived the unthinkable, a secret birth, a desperate walk to a shrine, and the hollow ache of leaving your daughter behind. Now, you're carrying another burden, guilt that clings like damp silk. Tonight, you're slipping away again, not to abandon but to honor. You're performing a Mizuko ritual, a quiet prayer for your water child, the spirit of the baby you couldn't keep. In Yoshiwara, this is your only apology, and it's as dangerous as it is sacred. The brothel never sleeps, its tatami halls alive with clients and spies. You're meant to be pouring sake, charming a merchant with your shamisen, but you've bribed a servant to cover for you. A stolen hairpin, your last treasure, buys her silence. You've tucked a tiny offering in your sleeve, a red cloth bib, small enough to hide, heavy with meaning. The Mizuko ritual is for water children, the unborn or abandoned, believed to linger between worlds. You're not sure if you believe in spirits, but you believe in nightmares, and they've been waking you since the shrine. The Edo period, with its Buddhist-Shinto blend, offers Jizo statues as guardians for these lost souls, and you're banking on their mercy. You move at midnight, when Yoshiwara's chaos softens to a drunken hum. The Koya shrine is just outside the district, its Jizo statues glowing faintly under moonlight. You've been here before, leaving your daughter on those cold steps. Now, you're back, a thief in your own life, stealing moments to grieve. The air smells of moss and incense, and the willows whisper like mourners. You kneel before a Jizo statue, its stone face worn smooth by countless hands. Red bibs and tiny toys, pinwheels, sandals, a cracked cup, pile around it, offerings from other women who've walked your path. You're not alone, but you feel like the only soul in the world. You unfold the red bib, its edges frayed from your nervous fingers. It's for your daughter, or the spirit she might be, a gesture to soothe her journey. You tie it around Jizo's neck, your hands trembling as you whisper, "Be at peace, little one." The words feel hollow, like trying to hug a shadow. You've heard the stories. Water children haunt their mothers, bringing misfortune or dreams of rivers. You're praying this ritual keeps her spirit calm, keeps your nightmares at bay. Your modern heart aches for a therapist, a journal, a chance to scream. Instead, you've got incense and a statue, and the weight of a love you can't claim. The ritual is simple but forbidden. You light a stick of incense, its smoke curling like a sigh. You place a pebble at Jizo's feet, a symbol of your child's place in the world. You bow, your kimono brushing the dirt, and murmur a prayer you learned from another courtesan. Return to the water, find rest. Every move risks discovery. If the madam spies catch you, it's proof of your crime. A pregnancy you hid, a baby you birthed. You're gambling with exile, but staying away feels like betraying her twice. Joke 1, your sneaking skills are ninja level, but your prize is a broken heart, not a shogun's gold. You're not the only one who comes here. Some women return yearly, marking the day they lost their child. Others come once, then bury the memory under sake and songs. You're not sure which you'll be. The shrine's haunted, not by spirits but by echoes. Mothers' whispers, stifled sobs, the rustle of silk on stone. You've heard rumors of rural temples where Mizuko rituals are open, with priests chanting for coins. In Yoshiwara, it's a secret, because grief is a flaw the brothel won't forgive. You're back by dawn, powdering your face, smiling at a client who smells like soy and arrogance. Your body's still sore, your soul's raw, but you perform. Here's the quirky fact. You hid the bib in your kimono sleeve, smuggling it past the brothel's guards like a spy. It's a tiny rebellion, folding grief into silk, but it's yours. You stitched it in stolen moments, pricking your fingers with a borrowed needle. It's not art, it's survival, a scrap of red that says you loved her. Historians debate whether Mizuko rituals were spiritual necessity or psychological solace. Some say they're a Buddhist balm, tying loose spirits to the cycle of rebirth. Others argue they're a coping mechanism, letting women like you mourn in a world that demands silence. You're not here for answers. You're just trying to breathe without drowning. The Edo period's spiritual landscape, shaped by the Tokugawa shogunate's 1603 rise, blended control with faith. Shrines like this one were lifelines for the powerless, especially women trapped in Yoshiwara's gilded cage. Jizo, protector of children and travelers, is your only confidant. You wonder if he hears you, if he'll guide your daughter's spirit to a kinder place. You're back in the brothel, strumming a shamisen, laughing at a samurai's terrible haiku. Your sleeve feels empty without the bib, your heart heavier than ever. Joke 2, your therapy session's a statue and some smoke, and the kopei's your last shred of hope. You're surviving, one smile at a time, but the ritual lingers. You see Jizo's face in your dreams, his bib's a sea of red. You wonder if your daughter's spirit is at peace, or if she's waiting in the river, watching you. You push the thought down, because thinking is a luxury you can't afford. You pour sake, flutter your fan, and pray the next client doesn't notice your trembling hands. Joke 3. Your heart's a shrine now, collecting pebbles you'll never place. You're still here, still performing, but a part of you stays at that statue, whispering to a child you'll never hold. Still awake? Or are you drifting with the water children? You're back in the bustling heart of Edo, Tokyo, 1650, where the air hums with the clatter of geta sandals and the sizzle of street vendors' grills. The pleasure district's lanterns are behind you, their glow fading as you step into a different kind of ritual. You're heading to a public bathhouse, a steamy haven where samurai, merchants, and even the occasional courtesans scrub away the day's grime. The Edo period's urban pulse, fueled by the Tokugawa shogunate's iron grip since 1603, has made bathhouses the social hubs of Tokyo and Kyoto. You're dreaming of a hot shower with eucalyptus body wash, but instead, you're about to face a slippery, crowded, and downright embarrassing ordeal. In these bathhouses, cleanliness comes with a side of chaos, and you're one misstep from becoming the talk of the town. The bathhouse is a wooden maze, its air thick with steam and the tang of rice bran. You push through a curtain, the floor slick under your bare feet, and enter a room where bodies jostle like fish in a net. Mixed gender bathing is the norm. Men, women, kids, all splashing in the same tubs. Privacy. That's a fantasy for another century. You're clutching a small towel, barely big enough to cover your dignity, and weaving through a crowd that's chatting like it's a festival. Your modern soul screams for a locked stall, a fluffy bath mat, and a Spotify playlist. Here, you've got a bucket, a crowd, and a prayer that you don't slip into someone's lap. You find a spot by a massive wooden tub, its water cloudy from a dozen bodies. The process is simple: scrub first, soak later. You grab a sack of rice bran, the poor man's soap, and start scouring your skin. It's gritty, like rubbing wet sandpaper, and it leaves your arms red and stinging. Soap's a rare luxury, imported or hoarded by the elite, so you're stuck with bran that smells like a barn. You're scrubbing harder than a TikTok cleaning influencer, but dirt clings like a bad ex. The water's recycled, passed from tub to tub, carrying rashes, conjunctivitis, and who knows what else. You're not just bathing, you're playing germ roulette, and the house always wins. You're trying to focus, but the bathhouse is a circus of distractions. A merchant's belly flopping into the tub, sending a wave over your head. A kid splashing like they're auditioning for a tsunami. And then there's you, slipping on the wet floor, your towel flying like a flag of surrender. You catch yourself, but not before half the room chuckles. Joke 1, your bath's less spa day, more slapstick comedy, and you're the star. Everyone's seen everything, and there's no hiding the blush creeping up your neck. You're dreaming of a shower curtain, but all you've got is a smirk and a soggy towel. The social stakes are as high as the steam. Bathhouses are where deals are made, gossip spreads, and reputations sink. You're dodging stares while trying to look casual, like you meant to flash the room. Women adjust kimonos nearby, their layers a puzzle you'll never solve without a servant. Men strut, showing off scars or swagger, while you're just trying not to fart in the tub. It's happened, someone's gas bubbles up, and the room erupts in laughter. You're praying it's not you, because in Edo, a bathhouse blunder is gossip that outlives you. Your modern brain craves a solo soak with lavender salts. Instead, you're in a petri dish of awkward. Thieves are the real wild card. You've left your kimono on a rack, hoping it's there when you're done. Spoiler: it might not be. Bathhouse bandits are notorious, snatching clothes faster than a Black Friday sale. You've heard stories of samurai trudging home in borrowed towels, their pride as bare as their legs. You're clutching your tiny towel like it's a family heirloom, eyeing every stranger like they're planning a heist. Joke 2, your outfit's one steal away from toga party chic, and Edo's not ready for your runway. You're not just bathing, you're guarding your wardrobe with ninja-level paranoia. Disease is the silent guest. The water's a warm soup of bacteria, and nobody's heard of chlorine. You're soaking in the same tub as a guy with a suspicious rash, and your eyes are already itching. Historical records from Edo note outbreaks of skin infections, blamed on crowded baths but never fixed. Bathhouses were social glue, but they glued germs to you too. Historians debate whether they were hygienic progress or disease traps. Some say daily bathing beat Europe's once-a-month dips, making Japan a cleanliness pioneer. Others argue the shared water undid any good, spreading pink eye faster than a viral tweet. You're not debating, you're just hoping your skin doesn't revolt. Here's the quirky fact. Some bathers hired scent attendants to sprinkle them with herbal powders, masking body odor like a medieval Febreze. You're tempted, but the guy offering looks like he's selling bad fish. You settle for splashing harder, hoping enthusiasm counts. The Edo period's bathhouses were cultural cornerstones, especially after urban growth under Tokugawa rule packed cities tight. They were where you networked, flirted, or just survived another day of sweat. But for you, it's a gauntlet of slips, stares, and stolen clothes. You're out of the tub now, dripping and dodging thieves, your towel clinging for dear life. You're back on Edo's streets, kimono miraculously intact, but the bathhouse lingers like a damp memory. Your skin's raw from bran, your pride's bruised from that slip, and you're pretty sure your eyes are plotting revenge. You glance at a sake stall, tempted to drown the trauma, but you know another bath's waiting tomorrow. You sigh, shuffle home, and dream of a world with showerheads and solitude. For now, you've survived the bathhouse, but the crowd's still laughing, and the water's still murky. You've left the steamy chaos of Edo's bathhouses behind, trading Tokyo's clamor for the serene elegance of Kyoto, circa 1050. It's the Heian period, a golden age of poetry and courtly grace, where nobles drift through palace corridors like petals on a breeze. You're one of them, a lady of the imperial court, draped in junihito, a 12-layered kimono that's less clothing, more architectural marvel. The air smells of plum blossoms and ink, and your every step is a performance for gossipy courtiers. But beneath the silk, you're sweating, stumbling, and praying your outfit doesn't betray you. In Heian Japan, beauty is power, but your kimono's a ticking time bomb of embarrassment, and one wrong move could make you the court's laughingstock. Kyoto's imperial palace is a labyrinth of sliding screens and tatami mats, where every glance carries a critique. You're gliding toward a poetry reading, your junihito a cascade of colors, vermilion, indigo, pale green, each layer chosen to evoke spring's fleeting beauty. The Heian court, flourishing under Emperor Ichijo's reign around 1000, is obsessed with aesthetics. Your kimono's hues signal your taste, your status, your soul. Get it wrong, and you're not just unfashionable, you're irrelevant. But the real challenge isn't picking colors, it's surviving the weight. Your outfit's pushing 20 pounds, a silk prison that turns walking into a workout. Your modern self craves yoga pants and a tank top, but you're stuck in a fabric fortress, and escape's not an option. You're moving slowly, not for grace but necessity. Each step risks tripping, because the kimono's hem drags like a royal train. You've got servants trailing you, adjusting layers to keep you upright, but they're not fast enough. You catch a screen's edge, and the whole ensemble lurches, exposing a flash of underlayer to a passing noble. He smirks, and you know it's gossip fodder by sunset. Joke 1, your wardrobe malfunctions. Not a wardrobe, it's a diplomatic incident. You're dreaming of a zipper, but all you've got is a servant yanking silk like it's a tug of war. The court's watching, and their pens are sharper than samurai swords. The heat's your next enemy. Kyoto's summer is a humid beast, and your 12 layers trap sweat like a sauna. You're melting, your carefully applied rice powder makeup sliding into a modernist art piece. Lice love the damp folds, and you're itching in places too delicate to scratch. You're fanning yourself with a painted silk fan, but it's like blowing on a forest fire. Courtiers notice your flush, whispering about your lack of composure. You're not just hot, you're a social pariah, one bead of sweat away from exile. Your modern heart pines for AC and a cotton tee. Instead, you've got silk and a side of public shame. Then there's the sash, the obi, tied so tight it's practically a corset. It's meant to sculpt your silhouette, but it's sculpting your lungs into submission. You're breathing in sips, praying you don't faint during the emperor's poem. Fainting's not rare. Some nobles collapse mid-ceremony, their sashes a fashionable guillotine. You're wobbling, vision blurring, but you smile like you're enchanted by the cherry blossom metaphor. Joke 2, your outfit's a vibe, but the vibe is, help, I'm suffocating. Servants hover, ready to catch you, but their hands are full of your trailing hem. You're a walking paradox, elegant and endangered. Color coordination is its own minefield. Heian fashion demands harmony, with layers blending like a sunset. You spent hours with your ladies-in-waiting, debating whether indigo over crimson says, poetic soul, or tasteless merchant. Get it wrong, and the court's poetry slams turn you into a punchline. Historical records note the tale of Genji, written around 1008 by Murasaki Shikibu, where characters judge lovers by their kimono combos. You're not in a novel, but the stakes feel just as high. One noble's already whispering about your clashing greens, and you're mentally drafting an apology haiku. Your modern brain wants a Pinterest board. Instead, you've got a courtier's sneer. Here's the quirky fact. Some nobles fainted deliberately, using their kimono's weight as an excuse to dodge boring ceremonies. You're tempted, but collapsing in front of the emperor's not the flex you need. You're adjusting layers mid-step, hoping no one sees the lice you're pretending not to feel. Historians debate whether Heian kimonos were art or oppression. Some say they were masterpieces, weaving status and season into silk. Others argue they chained women to impossible standards, turning mobility into a privilege. You're not here for theories, you're just trying to walk without becoming a meme. The Heian period's court was a cultural zenith, birthing classics like The Pillow Book and Genji. But for you, it's a daily gauntlet of silk and scrutiny. You're at the poetry reading now, seated on a cushion, your kimono fanned out like a peacock's tail. You're nodding at a poem about moonlight, but your mind's on the itch in your sleeve and the sash squeezing your ribs. You're a vision, but you're also a wreck, praying the next breeze doesn't topple you. Joke 3, your Instagram caption would be, serving looks, serving pain, but mirrors are rare, and so's your confidence. You're surviving, one poem at a time, but the kimono's winning. Your servants adjust your hem, your fan hides your sweat, and you smile like you're not plotting a silk rebellion. You glance at the court, their eyes sharp as quills, and wonder if tomorrow's colors will save you. For now, you're a walking tapestry, beautiful and breaking, and the palace keeps spinning its elegant trap. You've escaped the silk-soaked elegance of Heian Kyoto, stepping forward to the gritty Muromachi period, circa 1400. You're in Kyoto's samurai compounds, where the air smells of cedar smoke and sharpened steel. You're a samurai, your katana a badge of honor, your armor a second skin. The Muromachi period, marked by the Ashikaga shogunate's turbulent rule since 1336, is a time of warring clans and fragile truces. You're trained to face death with a steady hand, but right now, you're battling a foe no sword can slay, your own hygiene. From lice-infested armor to collapsing camp privies, staying clean is a war of its own, and one misstep could make you the laughingstock of the battlefield. You're in a Kyoto castle, its wooden halls echoing with the clank of armor. Your day starts with grooming, because a samurai's appearance is as sharp as his blade. Your top knot, the chonmage, is your pride, slicked with camellia oil to keep it sleek. But that oil's a magnet for dust, turning your hair into a gritty nest by noon. You're combing it with a wooden comb, wincing as it snags, while lice scuttle like tiny spies. Your modern self dreams of shampoo and a buzz cut, but here, you're sculpting a hairstyle that smells like a stable. You're praying no one notices the itch, because scratching in front of your lord is a one-way ticket to shame. Your armor's another trap. It's lacquered leather and iron, weighing as much as a small cow, and it traps sweat like a greenhouse. Kyoto's humid summer turns you into a walking sauna, your underrobe soaked before you've even drawn your sword. Lice thrive in the damp folds, and you're scratching through layers like a dog with fleas. Bathing's a rare luxury. Castles have small tubs, but water's rationed, and you're not wasting it on a whim. You're rubbing your skin with a dry cloth, hoping it counts, but the stench clings like a bad reputation. Joke 1, your warrior vibe is fierce, but your armpits are staging a coup. Out on campaign, it's worse. You're in a battlefield camp, surrounded by mud and men who smell like regret. The privy's a shallow pit, dug too close to the river you drink from. It's covered by a flimsy board, and you're balancing in full armor, praying it doesn't collapse. It happens. Last week, a comrade plunged in, his armor dragging him down like an anchor. The camp's still laughing, calling him Lord of the Latrine. You're squatting carefully, katana at your side, but the board creaks ominously. Your modern brain begs for a porta-potty and hand sanitizer. Instead, you've got a pit and a prayer that you're not next. Tooth blackening, or ohaguro, is your next ordeal. It's a mark of status, dyeing your teeth a glossy black to signal discipline. You're brushing on a mix of iron filings and sake, gagging at the metallic tang. It protects your teeth, sure, but it also gives you breath that could fell an ox. You're smiling at your lord, hoping he doesn't flinch, but the smell's a traitor. Historical records note ohaguro's rise in the Muromachi period, especially among samurai, as a badge of loyalty. You're loyal, but you're also a walking biohazard, and no amount of bowing hides it. Joke 2, your smile's a power move, but your breath's the real weapon. Camp hygiene is a nightmare. You're weeks from Kyoto, and baths are a memory. You're wiping down with river water, but it's muddy and smells like the privy upstream. Dysentery's sweeping the camp, and you're dodging it like an enemy arrow. You're dreaming of a hot shower with tea tree oil, but all you've got is a rag and a river that's plotting revenge. Your armor's starting to rust, and the lice are throwing a festival. You're a samurai, but you feel like a walking landfill, and the only thing clean is your blade. Here's the quirky fact. Some samurai carried odor sachets, little bags of herbs tucked into their armor to mask the funk. You've got one, stuffed with cloves and camphor, but it's like spraying perfume on a pig. You're dangling it like a charm, hoping it works, but your comrades are still edging away. Historians debate whether samurai grooming was discipline or vanity. Some say it was Bushido's rigor, keeping body and soul in order. Others argue it was a flex, proving you could look pristine while slicing through chaos. You're not here for debates, you're just trying to survive without becoming a camp joke. The Muromachi period's endless wars, like the Unan War of 1467, turned hygiene into a luxury. You're trained to die for honor, but you're living for the next bath, the next moment you don't itch. You're back in camp, oiling your topknot, dodging the privy, and praying your sachet holds the line. Your lord's inspecting the ranks, and you're standing tall, lice be damned. You're a warrior, but you're also a mess, and the battlefield's not the only place you're fighting. Joke 3, your Instagram would be all sword poses and valor, but the outtakes are just you scratching and sniffing your sachet. You're marching on, armor clanking, top knot gleaming, but the grime's winning. You glance at the river, tempted to dive in, but you know it's a health hazard. You sigh, adjust your sachet, and dream of a world with deodorant and dental floss. For now, you're a samurai, stench and all, and the camp's still snickering about that privy plunge. You've left the sweaty, lice-ridden camps of Muromachi, Japan, trading samurai grit for the sun-scorched sands of Thebes, Egypt, circa 1550 BCE. The Nile glitters under a relentless sun, and you're a noblewoman in a linen sheath, your skin gleaming with oils meant to mimic the gods. This is the new kingdom, a time of pharaohs and grandeur, where Hatshepsut's reign around 1479 BCE ushers in trade and temples. You're preparing for a festival, your beauty a sacred duty to honor Marat, the goddess of balance. But your skincare routine isn't a Sephora haul, it's a gamble with crocodile dung, lead paint, and wigs that itch like a curse. In ancient Egypt, looking divine could cost you your health, and one wrong move might leave you red-faced in more ways than one. You're in a mud brick house, its walls painted with lotus blooms, the air heavy with myrrh. Your servants are bustling, grinding powders and stirring pastes that smell like a barnyard gone rogue. Beauty here isn't just vanity, it's a spiritual flex, proving you're close to the gods. You're slathering on a face mask of crocodile dung, mixed with honey to dull the stench. It's supposed to tighten your skin, give you that eternal youth glow. You're holding your breath, trying not to gag, while your servant swears it's what Cleopatra's ancestors used. Your modern self screams for a clay mask and a cucumber slice. Instead, you've got poop and a prayer that it doesn't clog your pores. The dung's not just gross, it's risky. You're smearing bacteria on your face, inviting infections that no healer's papyrus can fix. Your servant's chanting about Ra's blessing, but you're wondering if Ra's got a refund policy. The mask dries, cracking like desert earth, and you rinse it off with Nile water that's not exactly Avion pure. You're glowing, sure, but it's mostly sweat and regret. Joke 1, your skincare's giving farm to face, but the farm's winning. You're dreaming of a dermatologist, but all you've got is a servant with a dung bucket and big promises. Next up is kohl, the black eyeliner that makes your eyes pop like an Instagram filter. It's ground galena, lead, ore, mixed with soot and fat. You're painting it on with a reed, feeling like a goddess, but the lead's a slow poison, creeping into your blood. It can blur your vision, scar your corneas, or worse, but nobody knows that yet. You're squinting at a bronze mirror, hoping you nailed the cat eye, while your eyes itch like they're plotting revenge. Historical records from the New Kingdom praise kohl as protection against evil spirits, but you're more worried about the evil spirit in your tear ducts. You're a vision, but you're also a walking hazmat zone. Your wig's the crowning torture. You've shaved your head to stay cool and lice-free, a status symbol in Thebes. Your wig's human hair, woven tight, and it's heavier than a bad decision. It traps heat like a fur hat in July, and lice still find a way, because of course they do. You're adjusting it constantly, praying it doesn't slip during the festival. Last week, a noble's wig fell into the Nile mid-ceremony, and the priests are still whispering about her ungodly scalp. You're clutching your wig like it's a state secret, but the itch is louder than a temple gong. Joke 2, your hair's serving looks, but it's also serving breakfast to bugs. Shaving your body's another ordeal. You're using a bronze razor, duller than a bad date, scraping your legs and arms to honor the god's smooth perfection. It's less silky skin, more accidental archaeology, leaving nicks that sting in the Nile's muddy water. You're slathering on oils to soothe the cuts, but they attract dust, turning you into a glittery sand dune. The festival's looming, and you're supposed to glide through Thebes like a lotus on water. Instead, you're itching, stinging, and praying your wig stays put. Your modern heart craves an electric razor and aloe vera. Here, you've got bronze and a bucket of bad ideas. The social stakes are brutal. Beauty's your currency, and one flaw, a rash from dung, a smudged coal line, could tank your status. You're parading past priests and nobles, their eyes sharper than obelisks. A servant's fanning you, but it's not enough to stop the sweat pooling under your wig. You're smiling, offering lotus blooms to a Monius statue, but your mask's residue is flaking, and someone's whispering about your earthy glow. You're not just beautiful, you're a performance, and the audience is merciless. Joke 3, your festival looks iconic, but your skincare's a TED Talk on how to glow and cry. Here's the quirky fact. Dung masks were marketed as godly skincare, mixed with honey and milk to sound luxurious. You're slathering on what sounds like a spa special, but it's still poop, and the gods aren't sending thank you notes. Historians debate whether these rituals were spiritual devotion or social pressure. Some say they were offerings to divine order, tying beauty to cosmic balance. Others argue they were class warfare, forcing women to risk health for status. You're not here for theories, you're just trying to survive the festival without a rash or a runaway wig. The New Kingdom's splendor, with Hatshepsut's trade routes bringing myrrh and gold, made beauty a sacred art. But for you, it's a daily gauntlet of dung and danger. You're at the festival now, linen gleaming, coal smudged but passable. The crowd chants, the Nile sparkles, and you're almost divine. But your wig's slipping, your skin's prickling, and you're one itch away from disaster. You offer your lotus, bow to Ammonius, and pray the gods don't notice your flaking mask. For now, you're beautiful, but beauty's a beast, and it's biting. You've left the muddy, lice-ridden camps of California's gold rush, trading gold pans for the warm glow of Edo's tea houses, Tokyo, circa 1650. The streets hum with the clink of sake cups and the strum of shamisen, lanterns casting flickers on wooden facades. You're a merchant, your silk robe a modest flex of your rice trade profits, invited to a banquet in the heart of Edo. The Edo period, solidified by the Tokugawa shogunate's rule since 1603, thrives on social rituals, and sake's the lifeblood of every gathering. You're here to network, charm, and maybe secure a deal, but sake's a slippery ally. One cup too many, and you're not just tipsy, you're the talk of the town, stumbling into a social disaster that'll outlive your ledger. The tea house is a cozy trap, its tatami mats soft under your knees, the air thick with charcoal smoke and soy. You're seated with samurai, poets, and a courtesan whose fan moves like a butterfly. Sake arrives in delicate porcelain, warmed just enough to loosen tongues. You're sipping, nodding at a samurai's tale of valor, but the drink's sneaky. It's not vodka, but it's not water either. Rice wine with a kick that creeps up like a ninja. You're trying to pace yourself, but the host keeps refilling, and refusing's ruder than belching. Your modern self craves a Diet Coke and a designated driver. Here, you've got sake and a social tightrope. You're 3 cups in, and the room's tilting like a bad carnival ride. Your tongue's looser than your purse strings, and you're telling a story about your cousin's failed fish stall, complete with hand gestures that knock over a sake bottle. The table laughs, but it's not the good kind. You're mopping it up with your sleeve, mumbling apologies, while the courtesan's smile sharpens like a blade. In Edo, composure is currency, and you're going bankrupt. Joke 1, your networking pitch is less business mogul, more drunk uncle at a wedding, and the samurai's not impressed. The banquet's a minefield of etiquette. You're supposed to sip, not gulp, and definitely not slur your words. But sake's got you reciting a haiku that's more gibberish than genius, and the poet across the table scribbling it down, for mockery, not praise. Historical records note the Tokugawa's 1635 Sankenkotai policy, forcing lords to attend Edo's court, which fueled urban banquets and sake-soaked diplomacy. You're no lord, but the pressure's the same. One wrong move, and your rice deal's as dead as your dignity. You're dreaming of a coffee to sober up, but all you've got is another cup and a room full of judges. Then there's the physical toll. Sake's diuretic, and your bladder's staging a coup. The tea house privies across a courtyard, a wooden shack over a pit that smells like regret. You're weaving through guests, trying not to trip over your robe, but your balance is as gone as your sobriety. You make it, barely, but the plank's wobbly, and you're swaying like a lantern in a storm. Last week, a merchant fell in, and the tea house still whispers about sake sinking Shigeru. You're gripping the walls, praying you don't join the legend. Joke 2, your bathroom breaks a quest, but the only treasure's a splash you'll never live down. The social fallout's worse than the privy. You're back at the table, but your hiccups are louder than the shamisen. You try to compliment the host's sake, but it comes out as a rant about rice taxes, and the samurai's hand twitches toward his katana. You're not just embarrassing yourself, you're risking your business. Tea houses are Edo's social media, where gossip spreads faster than a wildfire. By tomorrow, you'll be that merchant who slurred at the banquet, and your clients will ghost you harder than a Tinder match. Your modern heart wants an Uber and a nap. Instead, you've got a fan to hide your flush and a prayer that you shut up. Here's the quirky fact. Some guests carried sake stones, polished pebbles they'd sucked to mask drunken breath, like medieval breath mints. You've got one, rolling it in your mouth, but it's not fooling anyone. Your hiccups are a symphony. Historians debate whether sake rituals were social glue or chaos catalysts. Some say they bonded merchants and samurai, forging deals over cups. Others argue they fueled rivalries, with drunken insults sparking feuds. You're not debating, You're just trying to survive the night without becoming a cautionary tale. You're stumbling out of the tea house, the cool night air a slap to your senses. Your robes stained, your deals shaky, and the courtesans' laughter echoes in your ears. You're dreaming of a world with breathalyzers and bar tabs, but Edo's got no mercy for your hangover. You shuffle home, the pebbles still in your mouth, and pray tomorrow's gossip picks a new target. For now, you're the sake-soaked merchant, and the tea house is still buzzing with your blunders. You've left the sun-baked streets of Thebes, trading Egypt's dung masks for the muddy chaos of California's Sierra Nevada, circa 1850. The gold rush is in full swing, sparked by James Marshall's 1848 discovery at Sutter's Mill, and you're a miner chasing dreams of nuggets in a land that smells like sweat and desperation. The air's thick with dust and the clang of pickaxes, and you're knee-deep in a river, panning for gold under a merciless sun. Cleanliness isn't just a luxury, it's a myth. From overflowing outhouses to lice-infested clothes, you're living in a filth that makes your modern shower obsession feel like a cruel taunt. In this boomtown, hygiene's a losing battle, and one slip could make you the camp's punchline. You're in a mining camp, a sprawl of tents and lean-tos clustered around a river that's more mud than water. Your clothes, flannel shirt, patched trousers, are caked with dirt, and you haven't seen a proper bath since San Francisco's docks. The gold rush turned California into a magnet for fortune seekers, swelling camps to bursting. Sanitation? Nobody's got time for that. You're using the river as a toilet, squatting upstream and praying nobody's drinking downstream. Spoiler: they are. Dysentery's a camp regular, and you're dodging it like a bad poker hand. Your modern self craves a flush valve and hand soap. Here, you've got a river and a shovel, and neither's your friend. The outhouse is your next nightmare. It's a rickety shack over a pit that's overflowing because nobody's emptying it. You're balancing on a splintered board, the stench hitting like a fist. Last week, the thing collapsed under a drunk miner, and he's still scrubbing off the shame. You're holding your breath, praying the boards hold, but the creak's not promising. You're dreaming of a porta-potty with a lock, but all you've got is a pit and a crowd of flies that know your name. Joke 1, your bathroom breaks less nature's call, more nature's prank, and you're the punchline. Bathing's a rare event. You're splashing in the river, using the same water you're panning in, washing in, and, yep, pooping in. It's a multitasker's nightmare, and the water's so murky you're cleaner before you start. Soap's a luxury, sold at prices that'd make a gold nugget blush. You traded a pinch of dust for a bar, only to find it's lard, slick but useless. You're rubbing it on, smelling like a butcher's shop, and the dirt's laughing at you. The camp's lousy with fleas and lice, and your clothes are their Airbnb. You're itching like you're auditioning for a misery contest, and scratching's your only cardio. Your beard's a disaster, a tangled nest of crumbs and river silt. Shaving's a gamble, your razor's duller than a politician's promise, and the river's no mirror. You're hacking away, nicking your chin, and hoping you don't look like you lost a fight with a cat. Some miners pay barbers with gold flakes, but you're not that flush. You're squinting at your reflection in a tin pan, cursing the stubble that's winning. Joke 2, your beard's giving rugged prospector, but it's also giving bug hotel, and the bugs are leaving 5-star reviews. Camp fights don't help. You're not just panning for gold, you're guarding your claim from jumpers who'd steal it faster than a saloon girl's wink. Outhouses become battlegrounds, with miners shoving for space like it's Black Friday. You're dodging elbows, protecting your spot, and praying you don't end up in the pit. San Francisco's boomtowns are worse. Streets are mud and waste, and latrines flood with every rain. Historical records note cholera outbreaks in 1850, killing thousands because nobody thought to separate poop from water. You're not surprised, but you're still drinking from that river, and your stomach's staging a protest. Here's the quirky fact. Some miners traded gold nuggets for a single bath in a barrel, heated by a fire and guarded like a bank vault. You're tempted, but your last nugget went to that fake soap, and you're not falling for it again. Historians debate whether poor hygiene or greed killed more during the gold rush. Some say dysentery and cholera were the real reapers, fueled by filthy camps. Others argue greed drove men to ignore health, chasing gold over survival. You're not debating, you're just trying to pan without puking. The gold rush was a frenzy, turning San Francisco from a village to a city in months. But for you, it's a daily grind of mud and misery. You're back at the river, panning with hands that haven't been cleaned since Boston. Your clothes are stiff, your beard's a jungle, and the outhouse is calling like a bad ex. You're dreaming of a hot shower, a bar of Dove, and a world where lice don't rule. Joke 3, your gold pan's empty, but your itch collection's a treasure trove. You sigh, dunk your pan, and pray for a speck of gold, or at least a clean pair of socks. Still here. Or are you panning for gold in your dreams? You've stumbled out of Edo's sake-soaked tea houses, leaving behind the echoes of hiccups and spilled rice wine. Now, you're in Kamakura, Japan, circa 1350, where the air carries the scent of pine and temple incense. You're a townsfolk, maybe a scribe or a small-time trader, shuffling through dirt streets in wooden geta sandals, their elevated soles clacking like a metronome. The Kamakura period, defined by the shogunate's grip since 1185, is a world of samurai swagger and Buddhist chants, but you're just trying to get to the market without eating dirt. Geta are your only footwear, and they're less shoes, more balancing act. One wrong step, and you're not just tripping, you're the village jester, your dignity as wobbly as the sandals themselves. Kamakura's streets are a gauntlet of mud, pebbles, and the occasional ox cart. You're dressed in a hemp robe, practical but no match for the Geta's quirks. These sandals are wooden platforms, raised on two stilts an inch or two high, designed to keep your feet above the muck. Sounds smart, but they're a trap. The thong between your toes chafes like a grudge, and the stilts make every step a high-stakes gamble. You're weaving past fish stalls, your Geta clacking louder than a temple bell, and every eye's on you. Not for your charm, but because they're betting on your faceplant. Your modern self pines for sneakers and socks. Here, you've got wood and a prayer for balance. You're halfway to the market when it happens. A stray pebble, slick with mud, catches your Geta's stilt, and you're lurching forward like a drunk crane. Your arms flail, your basket of rice spills, and you hit the ground, robe hiked to your knees. The street erupts in laughter. Merchants, kids, even a monk who's supposed to be above it all. You're scrambling to stand, but the Geta's thong snaps, leaving you one sandal short. Joke 1, your market runs less errand, more public audition for chaos, and you're the star. You're dreaming of flip-flops, but all you've got is a broken Geta and a crowd that's not forgetting this. The social stakes are brutal. Kamakura's a tight-knit town, and a public tumble is gossip that sticks like rice porridge. You're not just clumsy, you're that scribe who kissed the dirt, and the story's growing legs. Women adjust their own Geta, smirking. Samurai stride past, their sandals sturdier but no less risky. Even the elite trip. Historical records note the 1281 Mongol invasion attempt, repelled by a typhoon, but daily life in Kamakura was its own battle. You're no warrior, but you're fighting for respect, and your Geta's betraying you like a bad wingman. You're tying the thong back together, praying it holds, while kids mimic your fall in the dust. Rain's the real villain. Kamakura's storms turn streets into rivers, and your Geta's stilts sink into the mud, each step a suction cup struggle. You're wobbling, splashing, and cursing the genius who thought wood was footwear. Wet Geta chafe worse, rubbing your toes raw, and infections creep in where blisters burst. You're hobbling now, robe soaked, looking less like a scribe, more like a drowned rat. Your modern heart wants waterproof boots and a towel. Instead, you've got splinters and a soggy ego. Joke 2, your street cred's sinking faster than your sandals, and the mud's keeping score. Then there's the etiquette. Geta demand a precise gait, small steps, knees bent, like you're gliding on air. You're trying, but your legs are screaming, and your focus is shot. At a temple visit, you're supposed to bow gracefully, but your Geta catches on a stone step, and you're sprawling before the Buddha's statue. The monks are polite, but their eyes say, amateur. You're dusting off your robe, muttering apologies, while the other worshippers whisper about your lack of poise. You're not just walking, you're performing, and the critics are merciless. Here's the quirky fact. Some women glued rice paste to their get-a-soles for grip, a DIY traction hack that smelled like breakfast gone wrong. You tried it, but the paste dissolved in the rain, leaving you slipperier than ever. Historians debate whether geta were practical or oppressive. Some say they were ingenious, lifting feet above filth in a pre-sewer world. Others argue they enforced rigid postures, especially for women, turning movement into a status symbol. You're not debating, you're just trying to reach the market without another dive. You're limping now, one geta patched, your rice basket half empty. The market's buzzing, but so's the gossip, and you're the main course. You buy your fish, dodge another pebble, and pray the walk home's less eventful. You're dreaming of a world with asphalt and Nikes, but Kamakura's got no mercy for your soles, or your soul. Joke 3, your geta's a metaphor for life, unstable, splintery, and everyone's watching you fall. You clack onward, head high, but the street's still snickering. You've trudged through Kamakura's muddy streets, your geta sandals barely surviving the journey. Now, you're swept back to Kyoto, circa 1050, where the Heian period's elegance wraps the imperial court in a haze of poetry and perfume. You're a noblewoman, your silk Junihito kimono a cascade of pastel hues, but your real masterpiece is your hair, a flowing, waist-length curtain that's less hairstyle, more monument. The court, thriving under Emperor Ichijo's cultural bloom around 1000, demands perfection, and your hair's the crown of your status. But it's also a breeding ground for lice, a collapse waiting to happen, and a daily ordeal that could turn you into the court's cautionary tale. In Heian, Japan, beauty is a battlefield, and your scalp's the front line. You're in a palace chamber, its paper screens glowing with morning light, the air scented with plum and ink. Your ladies-in-waiting are fussing, their combs and oils spread like a general's battle plan. Your hair's your pride, never cut, trailing past your hips in a glossy black river. It's not just hair, it's a social contract, signaling refinement and divine favor. The tale of Genji, penned by Murasaka Shikibu around 1008, waxes poetic about women's tresses, and you're living that hype. But maintaining it's a nightmare. Your hair's so heavy it pulls at your scalp, and washing it's a weekly saga that leaves you shivering. Your modern self craves a bob and some dry shampoo. Here, you've got a comb and a crowd of servants who know your lice better than you do. Washing's the first hurdle. You're kneeling over a wooden basin, servants pouring tepid water that smells faintly of rice. They're scrubbing with rice bran, the same gritty stuff used in baths, and it's tangling your hair into a wet snarl. Drying takes hours, no blow dryers, just fanning and prayers for a breeze. You're sitting still, neck aching, while lice scuttle back like they own the place. Kyoto's humid summers make your scalp a swamp, and the lice are throwing a festival. You're itching, but scratching's a scandal. Courtiers would whisper about your unseemly vigor. You're dreaming of a salon and some tea tree oil, but all you've got is bran and a smile that's starting to crack. Then there's the styling. Your hair's pinned into an updo for a court banquet, a towering sculpture of loops and folds, held by lacquered combs and silk cords. It's less hairstyle, more engineering, and it's giving you a headache. The weight tugs like a bad conscience, and one wrong move could send it tumbling. Last week, a rival's updo collapsed mid-poetry reading, her combs clattering like fallen soldiers. The court's still snickering, calling her Lady Landslide. You're checking your pins, praying you're not next, but the combs are digging into your scalp like tiny daggers. Joke 1, your hair's a work of art, but the gallery's betting on a crash. The social stakes are merciless. Hair's your currency, and a single tangle or louse could bankrupt you. You're gliding through the palace, your kimono whispering, but your updo's wobbling like a drunk lantern. Courtiers watch, their fans hiding smirks, ready to pounce on any flaw. You're adjusting pins mid-conversation, pretending it's a graceful gesture, but a louse drops onto your sleeve, and you freeze. You flick it away, heart pounding, hoping nobody saw. They did. By evening, whispers of your lively locks are spreading faster than a haiku. Your modern heart wants a lice comb and privacy. Instead, you've got a fan and a court that thrives on your slip-ups. Sleeping's another torture. You're lying on a wooden pillow, designed to keep your hair pristine, but it's like napping on a brick. Your neck's screaming, your scalp's itching, and you're half convinced the lice are plotting a coup. You're spritzing your hair with camellia oil to keep it glossy, but it's a dust magnet, and by morning, you're crunchy. Some women sleep with their hair draped over screens, but you're not that patient. You're tossing, turning, and praying your updo survives the night. Joke 2, your beauty sleeps less rest, more wrestling with a scalp zoo, and the lice are winning. Here's the quirky fact. Some noble women tied bells to their hair, believing the tinkling scared off evil spirits. You've got one, a tiny bronze chime that jingles with every step, but it's not scaring the lice, they're dancing to it. Historians debate whether Heian hair rituals were art or oppression. Some say they were poetic expressions, tying women to nature's flow. Others argue they were chains, forcing immobility and pain for status. You're not debating, you're just trying to bow to the emperor without your updo staging a revolt. You're at the banquet now, hair pinned to the heavens, combs creaking under the strain. You're sipping tea, nodding at a poem about moonlight, but your scalp's a war zone, and your neck's begging for mercy. The court's eyes are on you, sharp as quills, and you're one itch away from disaster. You smile, fan fluttering, and pray your bells don't jingle too loudly. Joke 3, your hair's a crown, but it's ruling you, and the court's ready to write your obituary in verse. For now, you're a vision, but your scalp's screaming, and the lice are still partying. You've left the lice-ridden locks of Heian Kyoto behind, stepping into the bustling streets of Kaifeng, China, circa 1200. It's the Song dynasty, a time of silk markets and scholar poets, where the air hums with the clink of coins and the scent of jasmine tea. You're a young woman from a merchant family, your silk robe shimmering as you prepare for a festival. Your feet, bound since childhood to achieve the coveted lotus shape, are your ticket to status, but they're also a daily torment. The Song dynasty, flourishing with economic reforms like the 1069 new policies of Wang Engshi, prizes tiny feet as beauty's pinnacle, but every step risks a fall, an infection, or a snicker from the crowd. In this world, your feet are your fame, but they're also your fiasco. You're in your family's courtyard, the cobblestones uneven under your embroidered slippers. Foot binding began when you were 5, your mother folding your toes under, wrapping them in tight cloth until your bones broke and reformed. Now, your feet are 3 inches long, arched like crescent moons, a golden lotus that signals refinement. But walking's a gamble. Your slippers, delicate as paper, offer no support, and your feet ache like they're screaming for a union. You're swaying, gripping a servant's arm, each step a wince-inducing tightrope act. Your modern self craves orthopedic sneakers and a podiatrist. Here, you've got silk and a society that worships your pain. You're heading to a festival, where poets and officials will judge your grace. The streets are packed, vendors hawking dumplings, and you're trying to glide like a willow in the breeze. But Kaifeng's roads are a minefield, mud, stones, and stray dogs that don't respect your hustle. Your bound feet can't flex, so you're toddling, each step a prayer not to topple. You trip on a cobble, lurching into a fruit stall, oranges rolling like your dignity. The crowd laughs, a poet muttering about your clumsy lotus. Joke 1, your festival debuts less elegant maiden, more human piñata, and the oranges are stealing the show. The pain's relentless. Your feet are a lattice of broken bones, the bindings so tight they cut into your skin. Infections are common, flesh rots under the cloth, and the smell's a secret you hide with jasmine oil. You're soaking your feet nightly in herbal brews, wincing as servants rebind them, but the sores weep like a bad breakup. You're dreaming of Epsom salts and bandages, but all you've got is a basin and a mother who says pain is beauty. The festival's your chance to shine, maybe catch a scholar's eye, but your feet are plotting mutiny, and every step's a negotiation with gravity. Socially, you're walking a blade's edge. Tiny feet are a marriage ticket, proof you're delicate, not a peasant who toils in fields. But one public fall, and you're a joke, your family's honor bruised. Last month, a rival's daughter tumbled at a banquet, her bindings unraveling to reveal swollen feet. The gossips still circling, her suitors gone like smoke. You're clutching your servant, smiling through the pain, but a kid points at your wobble, and the crowd titters. You're not just walking, you're performing, and Kai Feng's critics don't forgive. Joke 2, your lotus feet are goals, but your balance is giving viral fail video, and the streets got no chill. The bindings need constant care. You're re-wrapping them in a quiet corner, the cloth stained with sweat and worse. If they're too loose, your feet lose their shape. Too tight, and you're fainting from circulation loss. Servants whisper about girls who lost toes to gangrene, their lotus dreams rotting away. You're tying carefully, but the festival's drums are calling, and you're late. You hobble out, robe pristine, but your feet are a throbbing betrayal. The song's obsession with foot binding, cemented by 1100, turned women's bodies into art, but you're the canvas, and the paint's your pain. Here's the quirky fact. Some women tucked lotus seeds into their bindings, believing they'd absorb pain and bring fertility. You've got one, a hard seed pressing into your heel, but it's not easing the agony. It's just another bruise. Historians debate whether foot binding was cultural pride or gendered control. Some say it was a poetic ideal, tying women to elegance like calligraphy. Others argue it was oppression, hobbling women to enforce submission. You're not debating, you're just trying to reach the festival without becoming a street legend. You're at the festival now, swaying to flute music, your robe catching the lantern light. You're smiling, offering a poem to a scholar, but your feet are screaming, and your balance is a coin toss. The crowd's eyes are sharp, ready to pounce on a stumble. You grip your fan, pray your seed works, and hope your lotus feet don't fail you. Joke 3, your beauty's a masterpiece, but your feet are writing a tragedy, and Kai Feng's taking notes. For now, you're a vision, but your steps are a gamble, and the festival's still watching. You've left the lotus-bound streets of Song Dynasty Kai Feng, trading silk slippers for the smoky longhouses of Scandinavia, circa 900. It's the Viking Age, and you're a Norse warrior in a coastal settlement, your wool tunic stiff with salt and sweat. The air's thick with wood smoke and the tang of dried fish, and your clans gathered for a feast to celebrate a successful raid. The Viking expansion, marked by raids like the 793 attack on Lindisfarne, has made your people feared, but right now, your biggest enemy isn't a monk, it's your own stench. Bathing's a rare event, your grooming's a gamble, and one whiff could make you the longhouse's laughingstock. In this world, hygiene's a myth, and your funk's writing checks your pride can't cash. You're in a longhouse, its timber walls blackened by firelight, the floor strewn with straw and bones. Your clan's packed in, warriors, wives, kids, all sharing benches and stories. You're fresh from a raid, your beard a tangle of sea salt and mutton grease, your hair matted like a sheep's backside. Vikings bathe, but not often, once a week, if you're fancy, and you're not. The nearest stream's freezing, and the soap's a lump of tallow that smells like regret. Your modern self craves a hot shower and body wash. Here, you've got a bucket and a clan that's already wrinkling their noses. You're trying to clean up before the feast, because status matters, and smelling like a corpse isn't a flex. You're splashing stream water on your face, but it's like polishing a rock, it's still dirty. Your comb, carved from antler, snags in your hair, pulling out clumps that make you wince. Lice are your roommates, burrowing in your scalp and tunic, and scratching's your new hobby. You're rubbing your skin with a rag, hoping it counts, but the grime's baked in like a bad tattoo. You're dreaming of a loofah, but all you've got is a twig and a prayer that nobody gets too close. At the feast, the social stakes hit hard. You're seated near the chieftain, a chance to boast about your raid, but your stench is stealing the spotlight. You're raising a horn of mead, mid-tale, when a woman coughs and slides her bench away. The room chuckles, and you're burning under your beard. Joke 1, your warrior vibe's epic, but your odor's the real saga, and it's not winning fans. You're trying to laugh it off, but the longhouse is a gossip mill, and Stinky Sven is a nickname you don't need. Your modern heart wants deodorant and a hoodie. Instead, you've got wool and a crowd that's holding their breath. Your grooming's no better. You're trimming your beard with a knife, squinting at a polished shield for a mirror, but it's like carving a hedge in a storm. You nick your chin, blood mixing with grease, and the kids snicker like it's a scald's comedy night. Viking sagas praise flowing locks, but yours are a nest, and the rancid butter you rubbed in for shine's gone sour. You're smelling like a dairy disaster, and the chieftain's dog is giving you side eye. Historical records note Viking trade routes to Byzantium by 900, bringing silk but no soap. You're not trading, you're just trying to eat without clearing the room. Then there's the latrine, a ditch outside the longhouse, screened by a flimsy hide. You're trudging through snow, tunic flapping, and the ditch is a frozen soup of nightmares. You're squatting, wind biting your backside, and the hide flaps open, exposing you to a passing hunter. He laughs, and you're cursing Thor for this timing. You're dreaming of a flush toilet and a lock. Here, you've got frostbite and a story that'll haunt you till spring. Joke 2, your bathroom breaks less call of nature, more public access special, and the longhouse is taking notes. Disease is the silent raider. Your lice spread to the clan, and skin infections from dirty water are a badge nobody wants. You're scratching sores that weep, hiding them under your tunic, but the healer's herbs smell worse than you do. Historians debate whether Viking hygiene was rugged pragmatism or a health crisis. Some say infrequent baths suited their harsh life, with streams as cleansers. Others argue it fueled infections, killing more than swords. You're not debating, you're just trying to feast without sparking a plague. Here's the quirky fact. Some Vikings smeared fish oil in their hair, believing it added shine and scared off spirits. You tried it, and now you smell like a dockside tavern. Spirits be damned. You're back at the feast, mead in hand, but your stench is louder than your raid tales. The chieftain's listening, but his nose is twitching, and you're one whiff away from exile. Joke 3, your glory's in your axe, but your legacy's in your armpits, and it's clearing benches. You raise your horn, pray for a bath, and hope the skald skips your saga. You're drifting now, the echoes of Kamakura's privies, Yoshiwara's secrets, and Edo's sake spills fading like lantern light. Picture yourself in Kyoto's misty streets, your get steady, no mud to trip you. The past was messy, samurai itching under armor, courtesans hiding heartbreaks, Vikings reeking of fish oil. You stumbled through Thebes with dung on your face, panned in California's filthy rivers, hobbled in Kaifeng's lotus shoes. These weren't heroes, they were you, sweating, slipping, surviving. Their toilets were pits, their baths were dreams, and their beauty was pain, but they kept going, just like you do when your Wi-Fi drops or your coffee's cold. History's not grand, it's human, clumsy, and a little gross. Let Kamakura's cherry blossoms fall, soft as your breath. Feel the Nile's cool ripple, the longhouse's warm fire. You're not balancing on planks or binding your feet. You're here, cozy, the world quiet. Those ancient struggles are just whispers now, nudging you towards sleep. Imagine a Jizo statue, its red bib swaying, guarding your dreams. No lice, no falls, just peace. Let the past dissolve, your eyelids heavy as Heian silk. If you enjoyed tonight's journey, leave a like, subscribe, and comment where you're listening from and what time it is. Until next time, sleep well.